Welcome to VDO's cooking class, a Cal-Am production. Today we're going to do brownies with a mint chocolate chip frosting. Kind of an ode to St. Patty's Day. We're going to make the brownies from scratch, but you could use your favorite family recipe or whatever floats your boat. I mean, a box and doctor it up, however it works. So we're going to start out with the cake mix, the brownie mix. We're going to melt some butter with some chocolate chips, and we're going to do that in the microwave. Give you just a few seconds here. Okay, so we've got our semi-sweet chocolate, and if you desire, you could mix it with some dark chocolate. You could mess around with it a little bit. In our butter mixture, we're going to put this in the microwave and melt it and stir it around. All right, while our chocolate and butter are melting, we're going to start out with the rest of the brownie mix. And we're going to combine, as it says in the recipe, we're going to mix in eggs and sugar. We're going to beat in eggs and sugar. So we're cracking eggs real quick here. One cup of sugar. What did I do with my sugar? It's around here somewhere. Right here. Thank you for being patient. So we're going to beat the eggs and sugar till it's well combined. You can use a hand mixer or a whisk. You don't have to use any fancy mixer. It's just what I have to use. And then after that, we're going to beat in the vanilla extract. Use a pure vanilla extract, but you can use the Mexican, Spanish, or vanilla. It works very well. It's very tasty. Two teaspoons vanilla. So I'm always a little cautious pouring vanilla over what I'm baking because I always tend to want to get it a little more, overflow. So I want to be careful doing that. So we have that mixing. Let that mix for a few minutes until it gets nice and combined. Sugar dissolves with the egg yolk and the egg. So right now the chocolate is getting nice and melted, and we need to let it cool down before we add to the rest of the mix. So we've got our butter and chocolate mixture melted, and also we've allowed time for it to cool. As per recipe, you don't want to pour microwave hot butter and chocolate into the eggs. It'll scramble them. Our eggs have been beating, they're nice and smooth. So now we're going to add the chocolate to the eggs. And I seem to always make a mess when I do this, so I don't know why I wore white today, messing with chocolate. So we'll see if we can do this without making too much of a mess. It smells very good. I love the smell of chocolate. And I love eating eggs, so how could you go wrong? All right, we're going to start back up here. We're going to slowly beat this mixture until it's well combined. And then we're going to beat in the baking powder. And then we're going to do salt and flour. One and a half teaspoons of baking powder. A little bit of salt. Okay. Now we're going to throw in the flour, and we're going to mix the flour till just combined. I want to turn the sides of this down a little bit. Things tend to get up on the sides of these mixers. You don't really have any control like a hand mixer. You can go up the side and get stuff down. But we're taking this down by hand. Okay. Gonna add our flour, 3/4 cup. And we're gonna mix it till just combined. So we're not gonna over mix it. That's what it's trying to tell us. And we're gonna pour this batter into either you use a parchment paper or a greased and floured pan. We're using a non-stick spray for this today. So we've got our chocolate mixed, we've got our cake pan, brownie pan. We're using a basic non-stick spray. We'll lightly get the sides and lightly get the bottom. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna drop this in here and we're gonna bake it at 350 for, you wanna watch it. It says 25, 30 minutes, but you wanna give it a good watch. Some ovens cook faster. I know our commercial ovens, convection ovens, cook a little faster. So we wanna watch it. I don't do a lot of baking, so I'm always self-conscious about, oh, what did I forget? Am I gonna end up with a hockey puck here? I'm much more adept at shaking pans. We'll let this spread out. Drop it a few times until you get it to go down. Yeah, that's nice and loud on the video, I'm sure. But there we go. So we're gonna bake this, and while it's baking, we're gonna start with the frosting. Okay, so now we're gonna start with the frosting. We're gonna mix some butter and some powdered sugar. But before that, I wanna start with the chocolate. So as the recipe states, you're supposed to chop up your chocolate chips a little bit. So I've got two different versions. I've got semi-sweet chocolate here of chocolate chips. And we'll give these a quick rough chop, but I also have some dark chocolate nubs type things, or baking chocolate. And we're gonna chop those up a little bit too. Just add a little variety to the mix. So it's just a rough chop. And same thing with this, it's just a rough chop. So you're not getting 100% big chocolate chips in each bite. And also the frosting will spread a lot easier that way. Okay, we have our softened butter in the mixing bowl, and we're gonna add the powdered sugar. Mix it all up. So 16 ounces of powdered sugar, and I'm gonna kind of do this sparingly so it doesn't fly all over the place. Seems like a lot of sugar, and it is. This frosting is very sweet. And some of you out there might have recipes that you like for the frosting for your brownie, and you can just adjust them. You know, add some of the food coloring to make it green for St. Patty's Day, and a little mint extract, give it flavor, and you're good to go. Also, as I was chopping the chocolate chips, I thought to myself, well, the recipe doesn't say it, but maybe the best thing to do is use many chocolate chips in your recipe, and that way you don't have to go through that chopping, because they all want to jump off the cutting board when you're chopping them. They want to jump around like jumping beans. So we almost got all the sugar in here. There we go. We're going to let this whip for a couple minutes and get nice and mixed. So slowly add your milk, as it says in the recipe, to get your frosting to the right consistency. It could be 1 to 2 tablespoons. So I have pretty good luck at about 2.5 tablespoons. Gets it pretty soft. creamy. I'll give you a quick look about what we're looking like here. So that's what we want to end up like that. And now we're going to add the different flavors and colors to it and continue mixing until it's well combined. So the green color, I have to be careful with this stuff. It's very strong and it doesn't take much to get the job done. So we'll start out with a teaspoon and see how this works. The recipe calls for, and again, it's generic. It doesn't say anything about how much. So you can vary the green on it. It just says green food coloring. So we're going to start out with a teaspoon. We'll mix it very slow so it can incorporate real good. And I'm pretty happy with this color. It's kind of a nice mint green. So that's what we're going to go with. And now we're going to add the mint flavor. Now, I know what you're saying about mint. There's peppermint, there's spearmint, and different pure spearmint or pure peppermint are savory and sweet. They're different. Spearmint's good with savory products, savory items, and peppermint's good with more candy, items. This is a mint extract, generic mint extract, which is a combination of both spearmint and mint. So I like this. I think it works quite well. So that's what we got there. So now we're going to add the mint extract. It calls for 1 teaspoon. So we'll add 1 teaspoon. Reminds me of old bubble gum I used to chew. We'll let this mix in a little bit, and then we'll stir in our chocolate chips, and that part of the frosting will be done. Okay, now we're going to clean it all off and stir in the chocolate chips by hand so they don't get any more beaten up by the mixer. It will start breaking them up and they'll start bleeding into the mint. We want to try to keep the chocolate as separate from the mint as possible. On the recipe, it shows a pretty thick layer of frosting. This does make a lot of frosting, so I would say make this and make some cupcakes, and hopefully, you got the kids over. And for me, at my age, I know I used to like it this sweet, but this is very sweet. So I just want to put that out there. We'll mix it up and grab the last of the little bit of powdered sugar that's sticking to the bottom, because the mixer just doesn't do it. That's where a hand mixer comes in handy. It actually gets to everything because you can control what's going on. It's like a baby Hobart, this KitchenAid, working on the same principle with the bowl that lifts up and down. I know some of you have them where the whole head tilts back. It's the same principle. Okay, so now we're going to add our chocolate chips to the mix. And we're going to slowly stir it in. And this is difficult. It's pretty thick, All right, so now we have our mint chocolate chip mixture, which we will put on the brownies. So the brownies need to bake and need to cool completely. Otherwise, what you have here is you have a basic butter and powdered sugar mixture. So it will be too soft if the brownies are very hot. You'll have a problem stacking it on. But if you just want to glaze them or put a small amount on, then it would probably work with a hot brownie. Okay, we've got our brownie cooked, cooled, and now we're going to frost it. So we're going to start off with a pretty thick layer of frosting and spread it out and go from there. It's a little bit difficult to spread because the chocolate chips are kind of like trying to stick to everything. It's like trying to put concrete down on sand. I guess I could explain it that way. It's not. So this is very much so out of my normal element. I don't claim to be a baker or a pastry chef. This is just something for fun for St. Patty's Day that I thought you all might enjoy. And that's your basic finished product. I'm not going to take it too far to the edges, but take it to there, and that will be it. Okay, so here's our finished product. It's a nice brownie. The frosting is pretty thick, but sometimes it can be thicker. You can make it thinner, and that should be an enjoyable thing for your St. Patrick's Day treat. You could also do cupcakes or something else if you'd like. And I think it's probably tastes pretty good.
Got some good